In this tutorial, we're going to introduce you to the first of the open fader scratches. This one is called the Chirp Scratch. This scratch needs both your hands to be in sync, and when they're slightly out of sync, it creates another scratch, which is why I'm going to show you this one as well. Okay, let's go. Good people, hello and how's it? What is happening? I'm DJ Shameless, if we haven't met yet, and welcome to the channel. We're going to be stepping things up a bit today by introducing you to the first of the open fader scratches, and this one is called the Chirp Scratch. This scratch was made popular by DJs like Jazzy Jeff and Howie T in the late 80s, and it's a 2-note symmetrical scratch. The mechanics behind this scratch is pretty simple, but this scratch is probably one of the hardest to become proficient at. So be patient, practice a lot, and you'll get it down. This scratch should also not be confused with the variation of the transformer scratch, being the one forward and the one back, which happened to me, and that was pretty awkward for a while. I thought I was doing the chirp scratch, meantime I was doing something completely different. So we'll make sure that this doesn't happen with you too. The second scratch that we're going to learn today is called the slice scratch, and it's not really a standalone scratch, more like a connecting scratch. And the mechanics behind this scratch is basically the opposite of the chirp scratch, which is why I'm showing you that today too. Okay, let's go. With the chirp scratch, it's an open fader scratch. So what that means is that you start with the crossfader in an open position. The explanation for this is pretty simple. So what you got to do first is line your sample up to the 12 o'clock position, start with the fader open, you move the sample to the 2 o'clock position, and you simultaneously switch the sound off with the crossfader. So you push in the crossfader from the on position to the off position with your thumb as soon as the sample plays. That's the first half of the scratch. The second half of the scratch is to pull the sample back to the 12 o'clock position and open the fader. So what you may have noticed is that you're just performing the baby scratch on your record side, and you are sharpening up the sound both forward and back with the crossfader. So the second scratch we're going to do today is called the slice scratch, and it's effectively the opposite of the chirp scratch, being that you start with the fader off. As soon as the sound comes in, you switch the fader on, and when you pull the sound back, you switch the fader off. With the slice scratch, you can also do it in reverse by starting from the 2 o'clock position and doing the backward motion first. So you pull it back from the 2 o'clock position to the 12 o'clock position and then open the fader at the same time, and then push it back to the 2 o'clock position and close the fader. And that sounds like... So combining the forward slice to the reverse slice is called a seesaw, and that sounds like this. At the intermediate level of the chirp scratch, what you can do is play around with the tones of each of the forward and backward movement. By tones I mean speeding up or slowing down the record movement, and still continuing the on to off, back to on position. That would sound like this. Now we can do a few patterns on a metronome, incorporating the chirp scratch and the slice movements back and forth. Now for more advanced patterns, including the chirps and the slice patterns, we're going to incorporate the previously learned scratches. And those were called chirps and slices. I threw in a couple of patterns including previous tutorials, so if you haven't checked those out, I'll link them up above or in the description below, somewhere here. And if you learned something, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it and it helps the channel out a lot. The next tutorial you'll learn about the Chirp Scratch that was created by DJ Qbert in the mid-90s. So until then, keep practicing, stay liquid, and we'll see you next time. Peace.